Well, as we know, when the Savior came to earth, one of the first things he did was organize his church. One of the first scriptures we find in the New Testament is the Savior going up to the mount by himself and spending all night in prayer, and came down the next morning and called his disciples together. And from his disciples he selected 12 and ordained them his apostles. Later on, he took Peter, James, and John up into a mount apart, and there he gave the keys to Peter to be the one responsible to hold all the keys on earth after his departure in leading the church. Now, in the course of time, the apostles could only get so far out in preaching the gospel. They organized branches, all as far as they could reach. But they only had the opportunity maybe of only touching that branch once in their period. Very little opportunity to teach and train. And paganistic ideas soon crept in, and different aspects of the doctrine were changed and modified so that it was necessary to take the priesthood from the earth. Therefore, the earth was without the blessings of the priesthood for quite a period of time. And the only way that the Lord could establish his kingdom again on the earth and the powers of the priesthood was to have that glorious restoration. As they were translating the Book of Mormon, they came across the doctrines in 3rd Nephi relating to baptism. And they wondered about it. So many forms were being used. Who had the authority to exercise baptism? They decided to appeal to the Lord in prayer, and on the banks of the Susquehanna River, Oliver Cowdery and Joseph Smith knelt in humble prayer. And there the great revelation occurred that John the Baptist appeared and put his hands on their head and said, "Upon you, my fellow servants," and ordained them to the Aaronic priesthood. So that was a glorious event. I hope all priesthood bearers remember May 15th, 1829 as a sacred event in church history. It's a special event in the history of time. We have this great article of faith, the 5th article of faith. We believe a man must be called of God. That's the way he governs those who are called. They're not called by random. They're called by inspiration and prophecy, by those who are in authority to preach the gospel and minister in the ordinances thereof. So it's a direct line that comes to the people through inspiration by the Lord on those called to exercise the priesthood. Every priesthood bearer can trace his line of authority directly back to the Savior himself. In order to have a direct line from the Savior to mankind on earth, he could not have everyone deciding on the course of direction. We know what happened when that occurred. Baptismal forms took all different shapes, sizes, and forms. Different people performed them. Some of them used different methods to perform it. He needed one source that he could dictate to his Father in heaven's children here on earth, that they would know of a surety that that was the line that they should follow. Therefore, he gives to one man, the senior apostle on earth, the duty and responsibility of holding the keys. Everything that happens in the church reports to him. He declares all doctrine. He approves all programs, everything that goes forward. He delegates to others to perform, but it all heads back to him and his relationship. Therefore, all confusion is taken out of the doctrines and teachings, because it all comes back to one head to interpret the doctrines in a way that is for the benefit and the way the Savior would want it. I'm sure the Lord requires a report from the prophet all of the time. For I think every prophet has said, They would never be allowed to lead our Father in Heaven's children astray. If I ever tried to do it as president of the church, they would immediately remove me from my position. It's the one line from the Savior to one holding the keys that spreads throughout all the church. No man leads this church. It's the Savior's church. And he leads through priesthood authority by delegating to one person that power and authority, and he delegates to others the operation of the church here on earth.